Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, this is a wee video to celebrate someone's birthday. Oh aye, yeah, someone's birthday over on the Emerald Isle. Jamie is celebrating his 12th birthday. 12th birthday. He's just 12 years old. And you're all going, Kilt-Man, what's he doing watching your channel? I know. I do question it myself. But his father is a great friend and a super channel contributor. It is Cap'n Ronnie over on the Emerald Isle, who you guys, you regulars know, he sent many, many things over, usually of a Jaws related, sort of style. And they've had a great day today because even though they're over there in Ireland, they support Scottish football. And the Scottish Premiership, you had Celtic, the Hoops versus Rangers. And Celtic won. 2-1. But they won. By Jove, they did. They won. The Hoops won. Now, even though, of course, you know me, from Scotland, we're distant relatives. I was backing, obviously, Celtic, even though I don't really follow the Scottish football at all. And I've got to confess, I genuinely do love the Rangers tartan. I do. I've often been accused of being a Rangers supporter because I've got kilts which look very similar to the Rangers tartan, and I do not support Rangers, but I don't really follow it anyway. But if it came down to it, it would be Celtic, of course. But it was a big day for Scottish sports all round. In the Rugby Six Nations, Scotland fought valiantly against France. What a game, Jesus Christ. The first loss Scotland's had in the six tournaments, the Six Nations this year. And having beat England and Wales, we're soon to face Ireland. Oh yes, be a battle of the giants. But Scotland have been brilliant, and it was a very close fought battle. And yeah, I was mightily disappointed at the end. We could have took that, we could have took it, but we didn't. So anyway, but Jamie, mate, 12 years old is a great age. I do recall being 12, and I also recall being 14 and 16, and especially 17. I've got to say, 17 was one of the best years ever in my life. And having spoken to many people as well, of my age group, old farts, we all seem to look back because it's the 80s. And the 80s was just wow. 80s was complete decadence, gaudy stupidity, shoulder pads, highlights, mullets, explosion of music. Which in the 90s, everyone looked back on the 80s going, "Oh, it was the decade we all want to forget." No, great music. Duran Duran, Nick Kershaw, Ultravox, Big Country, everything was out in the 80s. A lot of it is still going even today. But you had movies on VCR, VHS and Betamax. You had the video nasties. It was a wonderful era. So, 12, 14, 16 was okay. 17 was a really, because I was working at 17, and money, and other delights I had, and an explosion, an expedition into the big wide world, and I kind of moved out and did my own thing round about that age of 17. But I do remember being 12, and 12 was absolutely fantastic. Now, my dad, Big Kilt Papa, took me away for a weekend when I was 12. And what it was, my brother, my eldest brother, is ex-RAF, and he was stationed at RAF Lincoln, down in Lincolnshire. I'm not too sure if it's called RAF Lincoln now. It might have a different name now. I'm not too sure. I'm sure it's changed. But I think, because when I was much younger, there's a big 16-year age gap between me and him. So when I was much younger in the 70s, we used to go down to his accommodation there, his married house down there. And, we'd stay for like weekends or whatever. And we'd travel around Lincoln and all of those counties and all that. And I had a wonderful time. I'd only be a little tiny person then, like a little wee Oompa Loompa, and wonderful. And I think at this stage, my brother had left the RAF and gone on to other things and moved massively further away. But my dad knew the area, and he took us down to a Renaissance fair. Yeah, I know it sounds, you know, what? Kind of dodgy. Your dad took me to a Renaissance fair. But if you know my dad, or if you knew my dad, he's gone now, of course. He was a massive military historian, a huge lover of history, medieval times, the Napoleonic times, weaponry, chivalry, swords, chainmail, suits of armour, pageantry. He loved it all. The Vikings, every invasion this country's ever had, and he would discuss all this with me, and he'd show me, because he had all the weapons from these things. So I grew up in a house full of dangerous, sharp, pointy objects, and a lot of rifles and guns and knives and swords, and you know, it was a great sort of a wonderful safe upbringing. And so he took us down to this Renaissance fair, which was down in Lincoln, and it was out on the field somewhere, and it was busy, it was big. I remember it really, really well. Tents and marquees aplenty. You had Vikings, or like cooking the old style way. You had people making chainmail, you know, which is a genuine oldie worldy art. Someone did tell me that if you want to get into one of these, you want to be a Viking, or you want to be medieval, you want to be Dark Age, you've got to prove yourself to be worthy of joining their particular fraternity, and you've got to prove it by making chainmail the old-fashioned way. Jesus Christ, you know, I can sword fight, and we saw people doing sword fighting with prop swords. No, you're talking, this is like what, 1980, 81, sort of 82 maybe, and nowadays you've got tons of Renaissance fairs and people in cosplay and people who you got forged in fire. They make their own bloody broadswords, and you guys know me, I have a huge collection of swords. There's one sitting right there. There's some more over there, and plenty more over there as well. And my dad had these swords, and he taught me how to use them, but just like sort of, this is how you cut and thrust, this is how you parry. But my dad he couldn't do it. He just knew the basics and the principles. But we went down to this Renaissance fair, and you had, and this is what I'm getting to, you had a bunch of musketeers there, and playing the wonderful, wonderful Michael Legrand score to Richard Lester's 1973-74 production of the Three Musketeers and the Four Musketeers. They were made back to back, you know. And I have discussed them before, and I love them, love those movies. But there were musketeers there. No, I'd seen the Three and Four Musketeers. Yeah, we lost. Okay, we lost. And against France. See, Scotland v France. There, the Musketeers are French. For in the employ of King Louis XIII, fighting against the dastardly Cardinal. But they are musketeers. They are not the Red Guard. They are not the army. They're the elite. They're special forces, and they're very flamboyant, and they're expert swordsmen, and they're romantic. They're chivalrous, but they're also a bunch of buffoons as well, which is what Lester's movies kind of made very implicitly clear. And we were at this Renaissance fair, and you had these guys who were dressed in the big flouncy hats with feathers in. By the way, that hat there, which you can see my young friend here, Mr. Kentucky Fudge, sporting, that is the very hat my dad wore when we went to the Renaissance fair. He wore that, and he had some other costume on as well. But there are photographs, but they're old photographs, you know, they're proper, you hold them up, they're actual genuine photographs. They're not just like, yeah, all of a sudden I threw the orchestra out there. They couldn't comprehend real photographs. What? You mean you can't like adjust the brightness and the contrast and the shadows and shrink the cheeks in and brighten and enlarge your eyes? What kind of silly tosh is that? Yeah, old photographs. But in the passing of my dad and now my mother, big Kilt mama, and we're going through all the photo albums, and I genuinely cannot find these pictures, and I've been wanting to, because I remember this occasion, and it was wonderful. It was a lovely, proper summer's day as well, and it was just, because my birthday is middle of June, so it was summertime, and I was 12, and wow, big explosion of sunlight, and meadows, and buttercups, and birds tweeting, and the sound of swords clashing. That's how you should wake up every morning. And we watched these musketeers in all their finery, and they were great. I have since done sword fighting, and I studied HEMA, Historical European Martial Arts, using rapiers and broadswords, long swords, axes, battle axes, hatchets, tomahawks, bow and arrow. I was never that good with bow and arrow, although as regular viewers know, I am now the recipient of an old English longbow, and a very, very prestigious one at that. I've yet to do a follow-up video on that because I became quite proficient with that, even though I destroyed our garden shed completely and utterly. And but I've learned the history of that particular bow because it's got a long, prestigious pedigree, and wow, it's very, very impressive. So I've done all that afterwards, but even though my dad had sparked this sort of interest in me from an early age, seeing it being reenacted was like, wow, these guys are really going for it, and they were. I'm sure health and safety stepped in after that event, because I've been to these things since, even as an adult, and in fact only just before the pandemic I went to one as well, and there was no, there was hardly any contact whatsoever, but these guys were going for it. But bloody hell, they were good. And they had, I presume they were wigs, I'm not entirely sure, but big, long, billowy hair, very cavalier style, you know, the archetypal look of the musketeer. And it was proper old épée and rapier and fencing etiquette. The rules of sword fighting have all come from fencing, all from French doctrine from many, many centuries ago, and they've been adapted, but the actual main course of action is still sacrosanct, and it's still there. Obviously, it gives scope for movement and improvisation, you know, and you know, in the midst of a melee or a battle, you know, you've got to be able to like suddenly cut corners and quickly adapt and overcome. And these guys were going for it. Fucking hell, they look amazing. And it was a great pageant. There were lots of buxom women as well. Jamie, take note of this. Lots of buxom women with them things up there, up top. And they were, you know, big jars of mead and wine and stuff. And they were coming out of there'd be a big tent, a big marquee, but a proper bar would be in there as well. But my dad was never really a drinker, really. Well, not in my lifetime he wasn't. Yeah, I'm sure he did imbibe, but it wasn't really a common thing that I saw. But, and he'd be like, oh no, son, we don't need to go in there. And I'd be like, oh, look at those serving wenches. Wow. Can I go in there? I'm not bothered about swords. I wanna go in there and fight with one of them big chesty Morgans. And no, it wasn't to be. But it was a wonderful time. And I'd already read The Three Musketeers, Alexander Dumas's novel, epic novel, which goes into more stories as well. And I'd obviously seen Richard Lester's movies and loved them. And what's behind me right there? 1, 2, 3, 4. Three Musketeers and D'artagnon. Now these are from my dad, and I forgot we had these, to be very honest with you, and they're very impressive. They're very heavy as well. I can tell you now, that I've just found a can of Foster's. I was in the pub before, in the prelim to the rugby. So, and I had a pint of Guinness In your honour, Jamie. In your honour. I did. Cheers now. I've come down a bit, haven't I? And there's no whiskey as well. There's no whiskey in the house again. God damn it. But I'm going to show you these now. I may have to take my time getting them down because they're very heavy. Because these are the Four Musketeers, right? I think that's Athos, Porthos. I have a feeling that that's D'Artagnan. It doesn't say, the names aren't on. I think that's D'Artagnan and that's Aramis there. I think. Now, these are big and heavy. And I grew up with these, so they're very old. I'm 53 years old now. They are very old. They were in the house way before I was even like a twitch in my dad's pants. That's how old these things are. And they're bronze, real bronze. For a fact, those two are definitely bronze. Those two, the ones that have been slightly painted and coloured and with different bases, they may be spelter. Now spelter is, people get spelter and bronze confused, and they often call them bronze spelter. Bronze is bronze. Bronze is tin and copper. They're alloys. An alloy is a metal, a cocktail of metals combined together. Bronze is heavy. Those two there are very heavy. I can tell you that for a fact. I'll get them down, I'll show you them. But bronze spelter, or just spelter, is zinc and, oh shit, wrote this down, didn't I, somewhere? It's zinc and lead, But after decades, well, even like centuries, it's hard to tell. Even experts are kind of like, it could be bronze spelter. They don't want to pay you as much at auction. No, it's bronze spelter. Are you sure? Are you sure about that? Well, we think so. Well, how can you tell? Well, it's slightly lighter than bronze should be. But unless you've actually genuinely got the two articles together, you'll never know. Now, these two here have different styles. They've got circular bases. These have got like really ornate bases. I'll bring one down. I'll bring... Oh, yeah. I forgot. What did I call him before? Were you Porthos? Were you Athos? Maybe Athos. Look at this guy. He has got dust on him. I'll give you that. He's got dust on him. Look at that base there, right? He and Porthos here have a similar sort of base. The other two have a smaller base. That is heavy, folks. That's pretty heavy. Now, he's complete with all his accoutrement, his decoration, his costume, his big flouncy hat, and his big goatee beard, and all his facial foliage, and that look of pristine, empirical, fantastic, I am the best at what I do sort of ardour. I'm not sure what he's pointing at, but he's pointing at something. There, something down there. Over there, yes, that could be right. Thank you, Athos. My lager. Now, bronze makes a certain noise when you flick it, or rather tap it with something else metallic, but, well, there is a sword right there, but I'm not going to do it. No matter, like I'll manage to scythe through his arm and chop it in half or something. The cast of bronze is heavy and it's thicker than spelter. But even experts still get confused. What will happen with spelter over age is that over time it'll begin to crack, it'll begin to show signs of wear and tear. If you hit it, you may break it. It's a lot more fragile. But even the experts are still confounded by age-old versions of bronze and spelter. Oh God, how do we tell them apart? What do we do? Well, you're not going to fucking smash it in half, are you? You know, but anyway, that is fucking awesome. It is. It's bloody heavy, I can tell you that. I'll show you there. I mean, I'm going, that's Athos. It was pretty much the... he's not the leader of the three. And of course, the three gets expanded to the 4 Musketeers because you get D'Artagnan will join them over the course of the events of the 3 Musketeers. You know, with Milady and the Cardinal. Oh my God. Now, this one has come loose. Like 1 pin's come away on the base there. And you don't go thinking, oh, it might have the names on the base. It doesn't. The names aren't on them at all. It just says, made in Taiwan. It doesn't. I'm thinking that's Porthos. Now, you can see he actually has his sword. Does he have his sword? Yes. Yeah, Athos has his sword as well. But that's slightly bent. You can see that there. These are old. And that's obviously gone through some kind of... Oh, my Christ. That's a bit more wobbly than that has broken there. Can be fixed. But you don't want to fix these things. You don't want to do too much of these things. You can dust them down, which it needs doing. But you don't want to clean them. You don't want to put any kind of chemical on these. Nothing abrasive. You do that and you will destroy the value of these things. If you've got these in your attic or in your garage or wherever, or your in-laws or your grandparents have got these, start being really charming and helpful, buying and shopping for them and doing the hoovering next time you're around. Being really nice because you might get these in the will because they're worth a jolly lot of money. And these are great. As you can see, he's slightly unsheathing his sword there. But again, terrific detail on the face. Great expression. Look at that, the big twiggly facial foliage, facial topiary. The cape, the uniform, the tunic, the flouncy boots. The boots are great. I'd wear them. In fact, I do wear them. Again, very heavy. And let's just do it. Can you? Oh shit! I fucking hate that. Yeah. A Scottish hip flask. Okay. That proved fuck all. Jamie, take note. Don't discuss important facts like you really think that's going to prove you to be right and then go and make a stupid mistake like that, because that did not make that ringing, pinging noise that bronze is meant to make. Folks, it is bronze. I know it's bronze. So, yeah. But... now, this guy here, actually, I was saying they're heavier than these. Reaching round for that and bringing it down has proved that that's actually still pretty heavy. Now, it's these two. They have a different base, a round base, and they're both sort of, they're coloured, they're painted, but they're clearly from the same set. His sword is, well, I'm not sure what's going on there because there's the scabbard is there around the back here, but I can't see any evidence of a sword being in there. Now, what do we have? It looks as though, you know, he's doing his gauntlets, his gloves. He's very sort of refined and like, yes, yeah, I'm cool. You know, I'll be off to the tavern shortly. Any ladies you want to listen to my tales of daring do? I'm freely available. But now I look at it, I'm thinking that if you look there in his hand, I think the sword was actually meant to be there. But I have seen images of this figurine, as indeed all of them, and I've never seen one with the sword in it, but it looks like the sword should be there. Unless that simply is just a handkerchief from Milady. A handkerchief there. You know, maybe that's what that is. It looks kind of like I'm looking for the hilt of a sword, and I cannot see one. But something seems to be missing from there. But maybe I'm wrong, because there's no bloody sword in that scabbard. So where's your sword, mate? Where's your sword? Is it a manufacturer's error? The sculptor's boo-boo? Oh, fuck! I forgot to put a sword in his hand or in his scabbard. Oh, God. He's gone out half-cocked, you know? But look at the hair, look at the face. Cool. Yeah. And I love flamboyance. You may have noticed. And I love all this. And as you can see, there's colours here. You've got, this is like a turquoise. You might not be picking that up. It's like a turquoise colour. And you've got sort of lilac and sort of an off sort of pink sort of colour there going on the inlay of the sleeves. And there's definitely more brown on the boots, as you can see there. So there's a wonderful colour scheme going on. And clearly size, shape, dimensions, part of the same bunch as these two. Different base though. Now, I would have said, I mean, then again, you can see the base is hollow. Yeah, there's a little, my dad put those in. There's a sticker beneath each one with a different number on it, but my dad put them in, probably for auction purposes, and or whatever. And well, that's hollow, whereas they're solid bases, solid plinths to be on. So maybe that's why it's lighter. But the cast, and then if you're picking that up, there's a ring, a bronze ring to that. And they're solid, and there's no damage to them. And I say they're old. They're way older than me. They're way older than my dad, and my dad died at 94 years old. So when he found these, they'd have been older again, you know. So let's put this young man back. Now I have a feeling he's D'Artagnan. And I have a feeling that this young chap here is Aramis, the ladies' man. Aramis is the boy. He's the player. And again, look at that. Oi! He's like, look at me. Look at me. Hey, I wear the hat best of all, and my coquettish moustache and my little goatee is the best by far. And my hair, well, just look at this. It's resplendent. However, my sword is broken. So, are we mashing up the Three Musketeers with the Lord of the Rings? The broken sword, you know. Because that sword is, without a doubt, broken. It isn't hiding around the back there. That has come away. Now, there are people who can actually fabricate another sword to fix this and make it look like it's always been there. And like my dad, they could age things as well. So what number, he's got a number as well, number 8 underneath there. They've all got numbers, as they say. And again, it's another hollow stand. This is why they're slightly lighter than the other two, because they're solid bases. And but again, you can see the colours there. It's more of a red sort of colour going on, and you've got the brown again, and can't really tell that it's hat coloured. Probably is. It probably was in its day. But it's curious how these two with the round bases have been coloured and painted, whereas the other two with the big sort of ornate kind of square, much more square, solid bases have not been touched at all. But these guys have. Don't know why. But I've seen images of all these four together, and they always appear to be this way. You Google them. These two are coloured. Those two are not. I don't know. I don't know. Was that the standard? I don't know. But look at the trappings, the capage, the vestments, and the fantastic tunic and tabard, and the big fabulous boots. In fact, he's not wearing boots. He's got shoes on, and he's got like his socks. He's got like what do you call them? +4s. They're tied off with these little sort of, I would say anklets, but they're not, they're kneelets. And he's got his fancy shoes on. Has he got shoes on? No. The other three are all wearing boots, big proper boots, but Aramis is the ladies' man. Personally, I think boots is sexier, but you know, hey, each their own. He prefers to go for these little, and he's got some kind of heels going on there as well. Look, there's this, I don't know if you can see that. There's heelage taking place. So they're rather splendid. Must be fucking awkward to walk in as well though. But there is evidence of, like, you know, sort of like, these are all sort of screwed and riveted on, you know, it's all, even though it's like a vestment, it's actually armoured as well. It would probably do for fighting in, be light enough to move around in, and yet possibly enough to deflect, you know, certain, you know, strikes from another sword. But again, look at the hand, look at the poise is fantastic. It's beautiful. And look at the hilt. It's perfect, isn't it? It's a shame that sword isn't there. It really is. But because there's detailing on the hilt and the guard, so it's pretty magnificent. So, put you back. There they all are. Get out of the way of them. Defending the king and the empire against the Cardinal. Cardinal de Richelieu. Yeah, nasty, conniving swine. Three Musketeers is a wonderful story. The best film versions, like Richard Lester's versions, with, you know, Frank Finlay, Oliver Reed, oh, I always get the names wrong, Richard Chamberlain, Michael York, Faye Dunaway, Raquel Welch, David Hemmings, Richard Bryars, God, all sorts. Roy Kinnear is in there as well. Wonderful, wonderful movies. Michael Gothard's in there as well. And they capture the historical authenticity, the ribald sort of sense of escapade, womanizing, drinking, partying, the political intrigue, the staunch devotion to duty and to empire, but also knowing I've got to fight with you to try to usurp that person there who's actually in league with you, but I've also got to do that to get to you as well. And it's all interception of letters and subterfuge, deception, skullduggery. The only people you can trust are the Three Musketeers and D'Artagnan. They're the only people you can trust. Everyone else is in it for themselves and they've got something to go on with, something to work towards. You've got Milady, who's a Faye Dunaway, outstanding. And you've got Raquel Welch as Constance, who D'Artagnan falls for the charms of her, even though she's married to someone else, but they've got to try to get her out. Oh, everyone's involved with the monarchy in it. Oh, it's just, it's chaos. And there's threat of war with Spain, war with England, and you've got to keep Austria happy as well. Oh, it's just, oh, it is a huge, huge, immense clusterfuck. And it is, in part, farce, in huge part, slapstick and comedy, but action, romance, tragedy, intrigue, action. It is wonderful. And you've got yet another version of it coming out this year. France's biggest production ever is The Three Musketeers. It's in 2 parts. And I think they're both coming out this year. I've done videos on this. And you've got Eva Green's in there. And Vincent Cassel is in there as well. So, and it looks epic in scope. What I can't quite tell from the trailer that I've seen, well, the trailers that I've seen so far, is does it genuinely have a sense of humour to it? It looks like it might do, but it's kind of more playing on the epic grandeur and spectacle of the whole thing. A big costume drama, which, mate, I'm all for it. All for it. Three Musketeers rule! They're awesome. Très bien! So you've heard all of Michael Legrand's fantastic score for the Three Musketeers throughout the course of this video. But I'm going to end it on, see if I can find it now. The BBC did a fabulous 3-season show a good few years ago now, sort of 2015, 16, that sort of 14, 15, 16 I think, and there it is now. And they were dressed hugely in lots of opulent leather, but it was great. It was a Saturday evening show, round about the 7 o'clock sort of thing. So you could get a bit of heaving bosoms and a bit of, you know, sexual sort of liaison taking place and referencing, and a bit more strength with the fighting and the wounds, and it was a harder edge thing, but it still wasn't too nasty, and it was still massively family enjoyable, and it really worked. I loved it, and it did tell the story, the original story, properly. You know, so this was the main theme, which is wonderful. I love the hey. They're slowly going like that, trying to dance off their plinths. It's great. It's uplifting. There's such a sense of camaraderie alongside the intrigue that you want to be a musketeer. This show, this BBC show, really got that right alongside the original Richard Lester 2 movies, and then the Return of the Musketeers. That wasn't quite so good. That came a few years afterwards. And then you've got the Brat Pack. After doing Young Guns, they did their version of the Three Musketeers, and it's okay, but it hasn't got that same bonhomie, that same romantic sense of just ebullient daring do. But this upcoming version, I don't know. I think it will be the best for many reasons. Great cast, opulent, wonderful production values. It looks sensational. Look at the trailers, it looks amazing. And it's in 2 parts as well, because Dumas's story is a huge ongoing saga, which is why Lester had to do 2 films back to back. I'm going to go on to a bit more of that score there. Let's just go back again before that starts all over again. Here we go. Paul Englishby did the main score for this show, and this is wonderful stuff. And season 3 ended with a wonderful finale where they all say their goodbyes. They've fought and fought, and they've saved the king, they've defeated the cardinal, and other people have come in to replace him. The series expanded a bit more on what really happened afterwards, after Dumas's story. But it worked, it all felt great, and it did bleed into things that he'd alluded to in his original storytelling. And the finale, after big battles, and they've got to go their separate ways, they've done enough now for France, for the king. They've done enough, and they've earned their right to go do whatever. And a couple of them want to stay on and fight. One wants to go and, you know, become a priest. And he was the womanizing one. Someone say that was perfect. That's it. Anyway. But listen to this, it's just wonderful. It's so... it's beautiful. It's sincere. It's heartfelt. And after 3 seasons of lots of adventure and overarching stories and some dark episodes too, it was just a beautiful way to end it. The track's called "We Refuse to Die," because the Cardinal wants them incriminated all the time because he knows they're onto him. He's got to like destroy the Musketeers because they're the elite. They're the SAS. They're the SBS of the Imperial Army. But they know things and they'll go the extra mile. So the Cardinal can't have them around because they're going to uncover all his plots, his schemes to undermine the monarchy. Isn't it beautiful? And I think this is the actual finale track. Sorry, there's a husky dog just down there who's just gone like, oh, his dad, shut up. Yeah, listen to this now. This is lovely as well. She'll start growling and snarling throughout this now. You watch. But Jamie and everybody, Renaissance fairs are great. They're good fun. There's a lot more of them these days, and you get them in all different eras. Tons of Vikings. The Vikings is massive, still huge. But you've got Rome and stuff, you've got Greek stuff, Spartans. I've seen all this. And obviously English Civil War, which I'm not really into that. American Civil War, there's plenty of that. World War One, World War Two, there's massive World War Two fairs with all the jeeps and the armoured cars and everything. American GIs, American paratroopers, British soldiers, Nazis. You don't want to be the Nazi, do you? You know, you don't want to be that guy, but everyone loves them. The Nazi regalia. And look, George Lucas used Nazi regalia and uniforms and stylistic stuff and flourishes for his empire, you know. But listen to this. That BBC show, and I've forgotten all the people who directed it and the names of the people who starred in it, but my God, I've got it all on blue. It's well worth looking at. Told a great story, and its production values were terrific. Terrific. But it's still, you know, the Michael York, Oliver Reed, Frank Finlay, Richard Chamberlain version, which is still to die for. Because that nailed the style of Dumas's writing, which is witty, it is humorous. It's very enjoyable to read. The darkness is there. People do die. There's subterfuge and there's villainy, and you get inside the heads of the villains, and you know what they're doing, and you can spend intense chapters on all their machinations, and you're like, oh God, I want to get to the good guys and how they're going to combat this, which they do, of course. It's a beautiful elegiac finale. There's tons of action in that score as well. Tons. Cheers, y'all. And, you know, one for all and all for one. But not this one. Get your own one. This one's mine, okay? Wish it was someone else. And to me dad, on my 12th birthday, broadening my imagination into real living history being reenacted. There's nothing better. There's nothing better. I'll tell you what, had it been lashing down with rain at that fair, it would have been a different story. All their big floppy hats would have been dripping down here. In their big boots, they'd be tramping through swamps. Everyone would be in the tents with the big buxom ladies. Especially Aramis, of course. And Aramis is in love with the queen. He's in love with the queen, and she's in love with him because the queen does not love the king. Oh, it's deep. But you long for these sort of days where it didn't matter, you know, it was code of honour, chivalry. Your brothers would stand together. Where's that these days? Where's that these days? Just to end on a note of realism. But, fuck that. Let's end on... This is for the boys here. It's just full of enthusiasm, isn't it? Full of bounce. And you've got that choir, these voices. Hey! Hoorah! It makes you want to strut and run down the bar and leap from a chandelier and plunge through a plate glass window right into the street and get hit by a double-decker bus. Not a good idea, you know. I know. So yeah, 12's a good age to be. It's great. You're still a kid, but you get away with a lot more now. It's fun. It's fun. Make sure you have fun. Don't listen to your dad. What I had that there. Right folks, I have been always shall be Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever swashbuckling, daring do, husky growling in between time, please keep it Kilted, keep it Celtic. And I am going to see you all in a kingly French palace. See, I love the Musketeers, but the French, mais non.